So now we're going to have a look at Captain Chords and inputting some chords for our idea. So we have Captain Chords open here, and it's just defaulted to the welcome page where it actually defaults to A minor. So what I'm going to do is just loop this section of the track, which is kind of the verse. And let's go about having a place. Okay, so let's first of all add in a sound to use. So let's just go to a basic piano patch in Logic. There we go. And there we have A minor playing. So I think I want to start on A minor, but that feels a little bit too plain, that chord. So when we load up Captain Chords and we have a chord selected, you'll see that this menu beneath will show us some chord alternatives that are a little bit more kind of interesting. So let's see what we get with that. So these two are really nice. Bit too jazzy. Yeah, I like that. It's really nice. Now, what we could also do is just increase the complexity to get a bass note in there, so it's a bit fuller. Now, I think I want a kind of passing chord, so we have something going on later on in the bar here. So what I'm going to do is split the chords like so. Now it'll always split to half the value. Now I'm going to bring this across. In fact, I'm going to bring this back one so we get kind of a bit of a syncopation. Now I think actually this A minor 9 could sound nice here. Maybe not. Let's try a different chord. Let's try this chord here, C major, and yeah, we'll just try it like that. Okay, let's try one of the alternatives. Let's try the 7 again. Now I think that's going to work, but I don't think it's voiced correctly. So at the moment we have the inversion set to minimize leap, so it's trying to make everything very smooth, but I actually think I want this chord to be higher. Yeah, that sounds more like it. Okay, so I also want to kind of anticipate this bar here, so have this kind of syncopated as well. So I'm going to add a new chord in here, and let's do another A minor 7, but again I don't want to minimize the leap. I actually want it to be the same as the first chord was, and let's carry this on. So I think that actually could be quite a nice kind of general chordal structure and rhythm. Okay, so we have a little issue here that it's starting from random places. Now to get around that, what we can do is click sync, set the bar value to be correct, click sync, and it says Captain plugin is now synchronized from bar 17. So that means we're always going to be playing from the start. Okay, so I'm going to just get this looping around. I think this is working quite nicely as a little pattern. So we'll do C major 7 again. Let's bring this line across. Once again, A minor 7. Default triad. Complexity looks right. However, this is not right, so default triad for that chord there. Let's bring this across. There we go. And make sure when you're editing this, you kind of add a new chord in like this, because obviously here we're on this chord here, so anything we do will update this chord, so got to be careful with that. So C major 7 once again. Default triad. Okay, so I think maybe we need to change for the last bar. Okay, so let's try out some chords here. I like it going to the B, but this is a diminished chord, which is very awkward kind of sounding. So I'm thinking maybe a minor chord here might work, maybe with the 7th in there as well. Yeah, I like that. Now, what I might try doing is just repeating this chord. Let me just listen again. Yeah, I like that. So add a new chord in. Again, B minor 7. Okay, but I want to split this into 2 chords. So I'll bring that back, add a new chord, and I think I want to go back to that C major 7 again. Yeah, so I'm liking that as a basic chord progression idea for this verse. But what I want to do is kind of just make some adjustments to it. So I'm going to have a look at the space and creating a little bit of silence and rest in between the chords. The way I can achieve this is using this space dial here. So if I bring this up, you'll see we'll get some kind of rest in between the chords. So let's listen to how that sounds. I just want to look at this B minor 7 chord here. Let's try it in default triad. And this C chord here, I think I want default triad for that too. Now, what I'm doing is kind of overriding the way that Captain Chords is defaulting to work, which is to minimize the leap to make it smooth. And I think the reason I'm kind of gravitating towards that is I almost want to feel like these chords are being sampled and chopped up. So I don't want them to be that smooth. I don't want them to be that kind of performed in a way. I want them to be quite kind of jagged in the transitions in a way to make it feel like they've been sampled and chopped up. Okay, so I'm happy with that as a verse progression. I'm happy with the space now we've got in there. So we're going to flesh out the chords for this track, and we're going to look at doing this in some different ways. But that's going to be the first method, actually just manually putting in different chords, choosing different flavors, and changing the inversions, complexity as well. So to recap, what we did was we loaded up Captain Chords. It came up in the default window, asking us to choose the key we wanted to write in, which was A minor. We then chose a chord by clicking on our top row here. We added in new chords using the plus button. We chose different flavors of chords using this menu beneath. We were able to change the inversion, which is the way we voice the chord, what notes on the top essentially. And we had the option to minimize the leap so it was nice and smooth, or we could choose from the kind of default root position or first or second inversion. The complexity dial allowed us to move extra notes into the chord to fill it out. You can see it added this kind of bass note at the bottom here. We chopped up the chords using the split option here, and we were able to drag that around to get a nice groove going. And finally what we did was we used the space control to add in a little bit of rest in between, because silence is a vital part of music. It's as important what's not there as what is there. Okay, so that's part one of our look at creating chords with Captain Chords. As I said, we're going to look at some different ways to approach this. So in the next video, we're going to try an alternative chord progression for a different section.